Okay, so for any of you wondering how to have a long-term relationship, how to make sure that you can date a woman or have a girlfriend that is like super loyal, stay super feminine, this video is going to be for you, man. So today I'm going to break down step by step how to keep a woman feminine in a long-term relationship, because that's at the end of the day what we all want as men, right? So I'm going to focus on how you can trigger her primary desires to create a deep emotional bond so that she would never want to leave you, because again, we men want a loyal woman, right? So all of this is based on neuroscience and over roughly 15 years of field experience. And if you wonder if this works, bro, I've been with several hundreds of women. Also, I've been in a few amazing long-term relationships with women who were no drama and top-tier partners. So the first step to make any woman you're with feminine is that you need to get this concept I'm about to share with you in your fucking head, bro. Her feminine energy is unlocked. It's not demanded. Yeah, a lot of men think that they can just demand a woman to be feminine, but her feminine energy is basically direct feedback on your masculine behavior. And you might ask yourself, okay, why? Because her feminine energy is a subconscious response. It's a nervous system response. Yeah. So if you can make her nervous system trust your masculine frame, that's when she's going to be the sweetest, most adorable woman. Yeah. Not when you just tell her to be feminine. So how do you find out if you have a frame issue? Yeah, for example, if she stops reaching for your hand, yeah, if she rolls her eyes when you make a comment, or she refuses to give you like BJs, or you have to beg her to be affectionate or warm, then that's a clear sign that your frame is fucked. So how do you build a masculine frame, a Hercules frame as I call it, right? So that automatically empowers any woman into your feminine energy. So masculine frame is basically masculine energy. And I've broken this energy into 4 colors so it's easier to understand. So it's purple, blue, orange, and red. And each color represents a specific masculine skill that, at the end of the day, triggers a specific primal need every woman has. And only when you trigger all those 4 needs will she be feminine, man. But the beauty of this is, bro, that when you trigger those 4 needs, right, like she's going to be the most loyal, the most adorable, the sweetest woman ever, man. So the first color that you need to integrate is purple. So purple represents your ability to make a woman feel safe. If a woman does not feel safe around you, man, she's always going to have her guard up, right? Like, and when she has her guard up, man, she's going to be defensive. Yeah, she's going to be bossy around you because she always assumes that you're going to hurt her. And for the first 25 years of my life, I fucked up this part unknowingly because I didn't know how different men and women actually are in terms of what makes a woman feel safe. So for example, I used to raise my voice during arguments, right? Or I got defensive when my ex pointed something out that, yeah, that hurt them, right? That they disliked. For example, when Julia, one of my exes, mentioned that she'd appreciate if I could stop slamming the table when I'm angry, I was like, why are you so fucking sensitive about this? Like, I'm not gonna hurt you, you know that, right? But her nervous system doesn't operate based on logic, but purely based on instinct, right? So I was speaking or addressing her like her rational mind, but her like irrational mind, her nervous system basically just like got immediately triggered the moment I like slammed the table, right? Because that nervous system then went into fight response, which then made her feel unsafe. So in order to make her feel safe, I stopped slamming the table, but I didn't want to suppress my emotions either because that's unhealthy. So I learned also how to express them in a different way so that they don't get stuck in my system, right? Now you might be wondering, okay, how did I do that, right? There's a really great technique that I call, or that I developed, that I call response ability. When you take a closer look at this word, when you dissect the word response ability, you'll notice that it says ability and response, which means I have an ability to respond. AKA, I can choose my response, meaning there's a small window of time between an emotion, right, anger for example, and the ability to choose my response. So nowadays, when I feel like I have a strong emotion such as anger, I take a deep breath first, and then ask myself, do I want to engage? Is this worth losing my temper right now? And 99% of the time, it's not, bro. Believe it or not, emotional regulation is one of the sexiest traits a man can develop. Like, it immediately puts you in the top bracket of guys because most guys lack any basic impulse control. Now, the second way to make a woman feel safe is by learning to read a woman's subcommunication. Like, literally 9% of my clients, they are business owners, engineers, software developers, right? Everything a woman says, they take it as like without a grain of salt. When a girl comes home and she complains about her bitchy boss, her annoying friends, like most of my clients, they're wired to fix the problem she shares, right? So they say things like, oh, have you tried this? You should be doing this, you know, this is going to solve the issue. And that immediately shuts a woman's feminine energy off. Why? Because women bond through just sharing and venting emotion. Like, I always tell my clients, when she comes home and yaps about her problems, Like imagine that she's basically showing you like a drawing, yeah? Now, unless she asked you for feedback, how would she, what do you think? How would she feel if you immediately tell her what she could have improved about that fucking like image, that painting? Like she could have used different colors, different shapes. Like, that's not gonna make her feel good, right? Like the same for you. You wouldn't feel great if someone would just critique your fucking image, right? Because it invalidates you or her. It makes her feel unseen, and she's gonna shut down her feminine energy. So how do you respond when she yaps about her? I always use this specific technique that my mentor from sales back in the days when I worked in finance taught. And it works like crazy, man, because it instantly makes her feminine, because it creates an emotional safe space by acknowledging her and making her feel seen. Because that's what sales is at the end of the day, and relationships are somewhat a form of sales as well. So let's go through a specific example. Let's say she says, she comes home and she says, oh, I had such a rough day. My boss just dumped 2 new projects on me with a super tight deadline. Pay close attention to how I respond, word for word. Looks like you're really frustrated about this. It must be really stressful right now, isn't it? In this very moment, I label her emotions by saying, looks like, yeah, plus insert any emotion you observe, yeah. You make an assumption, and then I add another assumption about how this situation must feel like. And you might be wondering, okay, why is this so powerful, bro? Like, because by describing her emotions, you invite her basically to share more about her problems, and that makes her feel heard. That instantly, like being able to be seen, yeah, that makes her feel safe, and that allows her to even open up more, which, believe it or not, creates a deeper bond between you two. And a deeper bond, man, I cannot stress this enough, man, like means more feminine energy. But making her feel safe is just the beginning, right? I mentioned there are 4 primary desires. So let's focus on integrating the skill to build a deeper emotional connection, which is the second primary desire, which you do with your blue masculine energy. Most of my clients, they used to think that building a deeper connection is like simply done by paying for holidays, you know, paying the bills, going on a date once a week or so, you know, it's just total bullshit, man. Like, now a lot of women will say they want this, right? But fundamentally, in my 15 years of experience, I learned that I never actually truly listen to what a woman says they want, yeah, or she wants, but what they respond best to. And what women respond best to when it comes to building a deeper connection or a deeper emotional connection is by making them feel like you know them inside out, yeah, like as if you could be like their mind reader, like the mentalist, you know? So that sounds a bit complicated, I know, but it's actually super easy to develop this skill. Like the girls I dated always said, like, how do you know me so well? It's like you're literally in my head. Now imagine how feminine they were around me, bro. Because it's any woman's fantasy to be with a guy who can read them better than they can read themselves. And how do you get to that kind of level? Super simple, man. I'll show you now. It's a total game changer for your relationship, because it allows her to bring down her guard so quickly, and it makes you on top, like super charismatic, which instantly makes her more like into you, you know? And we're going to give you 2 techniques now. First one is what I call sweating the small stuff. So you got to understand that you cannot expect a woman to be soft and feminine if you do not make her feel desired. Every woman wants to feel desired, but you got to be nonchalant about it. Otherwise, you come across like a fucking simp, like a Kevin, right? And you don't want to do that. So sweating the small stuff means that you pay attention to like small or like day-to-day interactions, right? Or behaviors. Like, it's like, I always tell my clients, pretend that you're going on a safari and you observe her in the wild. What I teach my clients to do is like for 4 weeks roughly, just observe what your girl does. I want you to create a spreadsheet, and then you write down, okay, what coffee does she like? Is it cappuccino, flat white? For example, Sandra, she has this weird habit of wanting any coffee she orders like extra hot. Yeah, she always reiterates that, and always in a takeaway cup, even if we sit in. Like, bro, I don't fucking get why. She's a woman, yeah. I don't want to try to make sense of it. I just accept it, yeah? Example is like predominant colors of her outfits, right? The snacks she gets, the morning routine. You write all this down, and over time, you'll notice patterns. Those patterns then will become her baseline behavior, which I call baseline behavior. For example, 90% of the girls I dated, man, they love banana bread. So what do? I always get women that I'm with banana bread on the weekend or whenever I go to the coffee shop. I don't ask, I just get it. Time I do this is like a little surprise with a small, like with this small snack, and that turns every woman into a little princess. It's like it makes her super feminine because she feels desired, she feels seen. And by the way, like you might be wondering, okay, why is this list so important and why do I have to do it over 4 weeks? Because within those 4 weeks, right, she'll be on her period. When a woman is on her period, or just the days before, it's like the PMS, it's called, she'll divert from the baseline behavior that you established over the 4 weeks, which means suddenly she might be more sensitive. She might suddenly want more chocolate cake rather than banana bread, right? Sandra, for example, she used to get really bad period cramps, and to deal with that pain, she used chewing gum and a specific type of painkillers plus ginger shots. Completely random selection, yeah? So whenever she's on her period or just before, I wouldn't proactively, I would stop getting her banana bread because she'll usually prefer chocolate cake or chewing gum. Yeah. So instead, I would get those. So imagine how amazing it feels for her when you already got all these things before she even had to fucking ask, right? And again, you don't make it a big deal. You just say, hey, by the way, babe, I got you this. And over time for my clients, they develop then this specific intuition for what their girls like need, right? And like I personally, I don't need a spreadsheet anymore for any woman because I've been with so many women and I can sort of establish a baseline behavior pretty quickly for women in general. And then 80% of the behavior is like similar, and then I just adjust it to the girl I'm with. And actually, before I forget, there's actually one more really simple but powerful habit that you can like implement or develop that makes any woman super feminine, yeah? And it's literally just a small tweak. Takes a couple of seconds only, yeah? So instead of asking her, hey, how are you, babe? How was your day? Like, you should ask her like this specific way, like really pay close attention to what I'm saying. Ask her, hey, how are you feeling? It's a small linguistic change, right? That instantly makes her feminine because women communicate through like feelings, right? They yap a lot about their feelings. So that question basically opens the, what I call the floodgates to talk about her feelings. And I mean, the feminine is feelings, right? So guess what happens when you allow a woman to yap about her feelings? She's going to feel so much more connected to you. And guess what happens when you make a woman feel safe and connected through your blue and purple energy? Like for a lot of my clients, their women suddenly start giving them spontaneous massages. They start making meals again, and generally are just way more affectionate. But there is a massive problem here now. Remember when I said her feminine energy is only unlocked when you have like a balanced masculine frame? So far, I've only shown you the softer side of the Hercules frame, right? The masculine frame, which is blue and purple energy, aka blue for safety, blue for connection, and purple for safety. But if you only make her feel safe and connected, yes, that builds more love, but it will not build attraction. It will not create sexual tension and polarity. Because what I haven't told you yet is that the feminine side has also more than one side to her. The one I helped you unlock so far is the good girl kind of feminine energy, right? Like that's love. Because love is built on trust and safety, but attraction is built in tension. So the other side of the feminine, that is the dark side, that's the wild feminine. And that side is only unlocked through stepping into your red and orange energy. And those are the energies most men totally lack nowadays. So red stands for leadership and orange stands for adventure. So I'm going to start with the red first. So when you look at red, red will help you to build more healthy tension in your relationship through leadership. So every woman wants a man that can so fundamentally put her in her fucking place. So many men that I've coached or I coach, like just let their woman just run their mouths, disrespect them in public by cutting them off mid-sentence, talking openly about exes or making fun of them. Look at Alec Baldwin, Will Smith, you know, Johnny Depp, and even this Alex Eubank who just married or proposed to Shelby Sapp, right? For example, back in the days, my ex Julia, I mentioned earlier already, used to always crack jokes at my expense around her friends. I didn't say anything back in the days because I didn't want to create drama. What I didn't know was that I subcommunicated that I am a pussy. In that moment, she's thinking he won't protect his own boundaries. How can I trust him to protect mine? So when a woman cuts you off or does something you dislike, you don't lose your temper. As I said earlier, you stay cool about it, like a rock, for example, but you make it clear that this is not behavior that you tolerate. You can say, hey, if you don't stop doing this, I'm gone. Like, I'm going to walk away. Like I went on a few dates with this Spanish girl once who kept punching my arm when I teased her, you know? And after the third time or so, I told her, like, if you don't fucking stop doing this, I'm gonna fucking walk away. And guess what? After I fucked her, she said it turned her on massively. She surrendered into her feminine energy in that moment. There was this other girl like Anya, super hot, but she was super masculine when I met her first, right? And she always challenged whatever I did. When I said, hey, let's go to this place, she always like said, no, I want to go to this place until I fucking said, like, you know what, Anya, like, if you want to go to that place, feel fucking free, but I won't be joining you. Like, I'm done with you challenging everything I do. And guess what? She never challenged me after again because it was a leadership test. And in that moment, when I set a boundary, I passed the leadership test. And a few other leadership tests, you know, that weaken your frame and make a woman become more masculine around you. and eventually make her want to leave you is when you do this. And like, I'm sure you're guilty of this too. Like, the more you love a woman, the more time you want to spend with her, right? And that's totally normal. It's totally natural. There's nothing wrong with you. You're not having an anxious attachment style or some bullshit like that. But when you spend more time with her, like, she's going to start asking you questions like, hey, can you skip the gym today? Or let's stay in bed for 5 more minutes, right? Like, Sandra used to do this all the time. Like, Jean, come on, 5 more minutes, please. With her big Bambi eyes, you know? And like, it's so tough as a man to say no in that moment, right? But that's when you gotta fucking stay strong and stand firm and say like, no, like, no, Sandra, I'd love to, but I can't. I have work to do, you know? You can stay in bed. You can be a princess, but I got shit to do. Like, when you don't say no in those moments, you display that you lack discipline and free will. Of course, there's nothing wrong with staying in once in a while, like on a Sunday morning, because I don't want you to become a fucking paranoid red pillar, right, about it now. But if you do it too often, if the exception becomes the rule, she loses respect for you because you lack basic discipline and self-respect, right? And a woman can only surrender into her feminine when she can look up to you. But when she cannot look up to you because you aren't a man of self-respect, again, she will shut down her feminine energy. By the way, man, if you're realizing right now that you've been operating without that red energy that I just described or presented, if you've been avoiding conflict, you failed to say no, you let disrespect sort of like happen and let it slide, I've got good news for you. I'm hosting a free workshop where I break down how to exactly like embody red energy and all the other 3 energies that I'm about to describe, or I've described so far. So in that workshop, I'm going to show you the exact framework I use with my clients to go from like nice guy to grounded like Hercules, right? So there's a link in the description. The workshop is limited to 100 people. We're already at, I think, 77 at the time of the recording. So it's a free workshop. Claim your free ticket before it's too late, because as I said, we're at 77 so far. There's only 23 more spots open. So don't waste time. Click the link in the description. Now let's talk about the other masculine energy you need to integrate to unlock her dark, wild, feminine energy, man. Like, you need to become good at triggering her, or let's call it wildest fantasies, and you do that by learning game. Yeah? Most men have 0 game, and they like often have just stumbled into a relationship. There was one girl that gave them some attention, and you're like, okay, she's the one, right? They never learned game. They never learned to create basically the like abundant dating life they should have developed in order to actually find a compatible woman, right? A lot of guys mistake game for like manipulation, which it's not. Game is a form of art. Game is basically the art of conversation and providing women with what I call mental orgasms through your words. That's game, simple as that. You gotta understand that a woman needs to feel alive with you to unlock her dark feminine energy. Without game, you'll never get to that point. Now, you don't unlock this with just date nights or planning sex, like all this other bullshit. These new age spiritual coaches like try to shill you, you know? Like, the only real way to unlock this dark feminine energy in her is by speaking to her bad girl side without really like saying it out loud, yeah? You have to be subtle about it. You have to be charming and charismatic about it. And you might be wondering, okay, like, does this dark wild side actually exist? Like, bro, I was a bartender. I worked in finance, and I've lived with a male model, bro. Like, trust me, man, women are fucking wild. I've seen things you thought are just like in like 50 Shades of Grey or On the Hub. Like, read some of the romance novels these women read, man, and you will notice that this is just like word corn fundament. Again, listen to what women do, not what they say, right? Listen to what women respond best to. So obviously you might be wondering, how do I unlock the dark side? You integrate your playful side again, your orange energy, right? You flirt, you tease. Because a woman's loyalty is directly correlated to the intensity of feelings you can provide her with, right? It's like a range of emotions, and flirting and teasing gives her the entire range, while making her feel safe and connected only gives her half of the range, yeah? So for example, one of my girls, when I told her that it's so cute when she's so angry, which is, by the way, a push-pull, a form of flirting or teasing, right? She responded with, oh, aren't you too old for these games? A lot of guys would explain themselves out of fear of losing or upsetting her, or they would respond like logically to that question. I didn't respond like that. I responded in an absurd way by purposefully misinterpreting what she said. So when she said, oh, accused me of being too old for these games, she was 22 and I'm 36, right? I said, no one is ever too old for Uno or Monopoly. It's such an absurd response that takes all the power away from her. But once another girl said, oh, you're walking on thin ice, right? You could say in that moment, like, but I'm never slipping, you know? That is kind of wittiness that just completely catches her off guard, right? And it brings down her defensiveness and actually arouses her, because they want like a relationship full of fun. Like in my group, we practice these interactive role plays every week on our charisma calls, and the guys totally love it because it empowers them to make charisma like part of their identity. It's not about learning lines, it's about just becoming a mad rife in relationships. And by the way, if you're watching this and thinking, oh, you know what, I actually need help like implementing this in my relationships, or if you're single right now and you want to learn this for like going on dates or to prevent some shit like happening in the future in relationships, and if you want personal guidance on how to balance all those 4 masculine energies without losing yourself, I actually work directly with a small number of high-achieving men who are serious about mastering this. We do one-on-one coaching, role plays, real-time feedback, right? So if that sounds like you, bro, there's a link in the description to book a call with me. Every guy who's joined my program said, I wish I would have found you sooner, man. So another way to inject more sexual tension into your interactions with women is basically by assuming attraction, yeah? And disqualifying sex. Like, this is super counterintuitive but powerful, because like you do what 99% of men cannot do. 99% of men chase sex like it's a fucking oxygen. But when you create this aura of, yo, if you want to have sex with me, you got to impress me, you know? And when a woman feels that energy, like that you're different, that she can actually, or that she actually has to work for your attention, man, that makes her super feminine. Because guess why? She has to be submissive for that. She knows that if she's acting bossy, or she's acting too masculine around you, that this won't fly, and you won't be giving her the fucking validation that she's seeking. Women are so used to getting it their way because most men are slaves to their fucking urges. But when you stop giving into these urges, right, and you generally keep qualifying the girls you're with, be it after like 1 month or 6 years, right, you still keep qualifying them, this will create the dynamic, or like the sexiest dynamic and the most intense dynamic of love and attraction. Like, this kind of dynamic unlocks the bad girl side in her that every woman wants to tap into, but she can only tap into that with a man that is not easily attainable, that makes her work for his juice, literally, you know? Only then will she suddenly start sending you like sexy pictures. Only then will she start giving you spontaneous quickies or blowjobs, right? Without having you to initiate. Why? Because she now suddenly wants to. When a woman feels alive with you, which you create through this dynamic I just described earlier, when she feels like she has to keep like putting work in for your attention, that makes her terrified of losing you, man. This is not about like making her feel anxious or playing games. This is basically the foundation of primal attraction, because you have to, because we integrated blue and purple energy, we made her feel safe. Because we made her feel safe, there's no anxious attachment or whatever being triggered. It's more so like turning the dynamic between you two into a playground, like going on a roller coaster that creates a safe thrill. Because think about it, if you do not do this, man, like if you do not integrate this kind of dynamic and develop this orange energy, the relationship becomes like functional. It becomes comfortable. It becomes dead. You're like basically roommates who occasionally, if you're lucky, have sex. And one day she's going to realize, you know what, fuck it, this is boring. And that's when she's going to leave you. Maybe she's not going to leave you even for another man. She's just going to like let go of you because, yeah, you bore her. And the worst thing you can do to a woman is to bore her.